5.
All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's Brisbane City Council meeting. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, since there is no request under roll call item A, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilmember Davis.
Here.
Councilmember Kern.
Here.
Councilmember Mackin.
Here.
Councilmember O'Connell.
Here.
And Mayor Lenz.
Here. All right. Adoption of tonight's agenda. Let's see. I know there was a request to move item A, the idea work plan, ahead of old business, or right after the consent calendar. So if everyone's good with that change, then we can take the motion in a second.
New business item
K.
K.
Okay. Okay, I'm just looking at the thing here. It says new business A, but I guess it's item K. Okay, got it. I should look at both of these things. So item K would be moved ahead of old business.
Sure.
Okay, so there's the motion.
I'll make a motion to that effect, yes.
Okay.
Item K.
A second.
In a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, all right. Okay, so now we'll move on to awards and presentations, and yeah, no, we have some really great ones this evening. And the first one is Brisbane Village Helping Hands presentation. So you want to come on up, Nancy?
Hi, I'm Nancy Coleman, and I want to thank you for this opportunity to talk to you, and also to thank you once again for all of the financial and administrative support the city's given Brisbane Village Helping Hands over the years. I know there's one new member on the council, and I know most of you, but though I know that most of you are familiar with our organization. But just briefly for those here or watching online who may not know much about us, we're an all-volunteer local nonprofit whose mission is to help older Brisbane residents stay in their homes and connect with our community as we age. We've been operational since March of 2016, and we currently have 58 members, and to be a member, the only qualifications are you have to be 55 or older and live in Brisbane. And we have 60 volunteers. Our board of directors currently has 6 members. Karen Latham, who's here tonight, and she's going to speak to you a little in a few minutes. Sherry Goodwin, Cindy Rudolph, Tony Press, Elaine Porter, and myself. And we run the day-to-day operations of the village. As always, I want to thank our volunteers, and in addition to the city, I want to thank the Lions Club and the many individuals in our community who have generously supported Brisbane Village Helping Hands over the last approximately 9.5 years. Because of you, to date, we've been able to provide over 1,300 services to our members. And those services mostly have involved transportation, such as rides to medical appointments, to the bank, the grocery store, the laundromat. But we've also helped members with technology-friendly visits and minor home repair and maintenance, and occasionally other things. We found that in general, there are a few members at any given time who have more needs than others, and maybe due to a recent illness, a medical condition, or a surgery, and those particular individuals with more needs changes from time to time. And I'm happy to once again report that so far we've been able to find volunteers to meet those needs in most cases. Before handing the podium over to Karen, I wanted to acknowledge that my presentation may sound a bit familiar to most of you on the council. And this is because our main focus and goal is and has been to continue to be able to provide our core services to our members. And we found that sticking to the operational model we created at the outset, in which the city's support has played a critical role, that's allowed us to do this in a sustainable way, and thus the absence of exciting new initiatives or news. With that, I'm going to hand the podium over to Karen to say a few words about our finances and the impact of the city's ongoing support. Thank you again.
Thank you, Nancy. Karen.
Hi. As you know, I'm Karen Latham. I'm the treasurer of Brisbane Village Helping Hands. And I also want to thank the City of Brisbane for both the administrative and the financial support that you've provided us. Our work truly would not be possible without it. The financial assistance Brisbane Village Helping Hands receives yearly from the City of Brisbane supports our work in two very important ways. We're able to pay our insurance costs, which, like most insurance, has risen over the past year. We also pay our scheduling and database program, which effectively organizes our work and communicates with volunteers and members. These are two critical components to our work. Donations vary year to year. However, so far, we've been able to cover our other expenses, like state filings and membership fees and outreach to the community, with the income from these sources. We have not charged dues to our members since the start of COVID in 2020. This is an all-volunteer village serving our community at absolutely no cost to our members. In total, our yearly expenses average about $4,000 a year. And with your support, this budget is manageable for our small, all-volunteer nonprofit. We're proud that the community has embraced our work and that the city finds it valuable. We've developed a grassroots model that works for our little town, and we're appreciative of this community. In May, we had our first social since COVID, long awaited, both for members and volunteers, and it was fun. We look forward to gathering again in 2026. Finally, as we move forward, our main objective, as Nancy mentioned, is to maintain our ability to provide our core services to our members, that we can provide transportation, help at home, friendly visits, and help with technology. We're always looking to expand our volunteer base, and we welcome new members. Anyone interested in getting involved can find out how on our website, brisbanevillage.org, or by contacting us at 415-508-2185 or at brisbanevillagehelpinghands@gmail.com. Thanks again for inviting us tonight and for all your support over the years, and we're happy to take any questions.
Yeah, no, thank you for all the hard work that you've done, and thank you for your leadership, and wanting to bring this service to our community. Do any council members want to ask a question or make a comment? Okay, Councilmember Mackin.
I just want to say what a great idea that you thought of doing this, and happy upcoming 10th anniversary. I know so many people whose lives you really touched, and I can't imagine Brisbane now without it, because we've heard over and over the problem with transportation, and it becomes ever critical when people have ambulatory problems. They can't get down to the 292 or to Caltrain. They can't afford doing Uber and Lyft 4, 5, 6 times a month with doctor's appointments. So you have really, really made magnificent strides, and I want to thank you for that.
Thank you. We're happy to do that. And what we also love to see is when we connect our volunteer and our member, friendship blooms, and it's even better.
All righty, well, thank you so much. And yeah, thank you. Take care.
Great job, thank you.
All right, so now I'm going to move on to our next item, which is a proclamation. And we are proclaiming October 5th through the 11th, 2025 as Fire Prevention Week. So, whereas the City of Brisbane and the North County Fire Authority are committed to ensuring the safety and security of all those living in and visiting Brisbane, and whereas as fire remains a serious public safety concern both locally and nationally, and the presence of lithium-ion batteries in many household devices introduces unique fire risks, and whereas most of the electronics used in homes today, including smartphones, tablets, laptops, power tools, e-bikes, e-scooters, and toys are powered by lithium-ion batteries, which, if misused, damaged, or improperly charged, can overheat, start a fire, or explode. And whereas the National Fire Protection Association, NFPA, reports an increase in battery-related fires, underscoring the need for public education on the safe use of lithium-ion batteries. And whereas residents should follow 3 key calls to action: buy only listed products, charge batteries safely, and recycle them to prevent battery-related fires. And whereas lithium-ion batteries store a large amount of energy in a small space, and improper use such as overcharging, using off-brand chargers without safety certification, or exposing batteries to damage can result in fire or explosion. And whereas the proper disposal and recycling of lithium-ion batteries help prevent environmental hazards and reduce fire risks in the home and community, and whereas Brisbane's first responders are dedicated to reducing the occurrence of fires through prevention, safety education, and community outreach. And whereas the 2025 Fire Prevention Week theme, Charge into Fire Safety, Lithium-Ion Batteries in Your Home, serves to remind us of the importance of using, charging, and recycling lithium-ion batteries safely to reduce the risk of fires in homes and communities. Therefore, I, Cliff Lentz, Mayor of Brisbane, do hereby proclaim October 5th through the 11th, 2025 as Fire Prevention Week throughout the city. And I urge all the people of Brisbane to be aware of their surroundings, look for available ways out in the event of a fire or other emergency, respond when the smoke alarm sounds by exiting the building immediately, and to support the many public safety activities and efforts of North County Fire Authority and emergency services during Fire Prevention Week 2025. And to accept the proclamation, we have Safety Inspector Jeff Higgins. Mr. Higgins.
Thank you, Mayor and council members of Brisbane. I'd like to also thank you for recognizing Fire Prevention Week that's coming up for October. It's important for people to know. And also wanted to let you know of a few events that North County Fire will be having out here. And one of the big ones is Brisbane Day in the Park, which is going to be Saturday, October 4th. And that'll be from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., where you could come out. The citizens of Brisbane could come out and meet us. I will be there. Our prevention team will be there to answer any questions that you may have about fire prevention, and also about your house, of any type of questions that you want to feel safe. Also, another event that we are going to be having is going to be the North County Fire Authority Fire Service Day. It's going to be the open house at Station 81. So great time to also meet all the firefighters out there, our battalion chiefs, and once again, our fire prevention crew, including me, that'll come out there where you can learn hands-only CPR, learn the day-to-day activities of the fire department, what they train on. It's a good time. It's a lot of fun. And again, you can bring your questions, bring your family, bring your kids, and they'll have a good time. That's also, if I didn't say again, it's on October 11th at 10 a.m. to, I believe, 10 to 2, I'm sorry. So 10 to 2. So please put that on your calendar, and it'll be great to see everybody there. Thank you very much.
Well, Inspector Higgins, we have this proclamation for you. If you wouldn't mind coming up, please. And we want to do the traditional photo. Okay. Let's move this chair back here. And here you go, sir. Yeah, absolutely. All right, thank you, Inspector Higgins. All right, man. Thank you.
I wasn't sure he was even gonna come in.
I was told there would be fishing in return.
He knows how to make an entrance.
I think you got good advice.
And I think the only funny part and most appropriate part of this is I'm probably the only person in the room that knows that the deed to 50 Park Place has a restriction that the owner may never prevent the public from fishing on this parcel. So it says a lot about where the bay was many, many decades ago, and I think you all are going to be worried about where the bay's going to be many years after I'm gone.
And if people will want to go fishing in our parking lot.
Well, I guess there's no surprise that the next item is has to involve our city engineer, Randy Bro, and what, 25 years?
24 years, 7 months when I get off the clock, yes. So
okay.
I rounded to 20.
Who's
I think
counting?
rounding it up to 25 is very appropriate. You know, when I was going over our agenda and going through the packet, the proclamation, the letters, the writing was so small, right? Because when you've done a lot of stuff, you got to pack a lot in here. So thank goodness that Ingrid gave me a larger font thing to read for the proclamation, which I am greatly honored to read, Randy. So, whereas Randy Bro began his distinguished career with the City of Brisbane on May 7th, 2001, just after I was born, bringing a wealth of leadership, engineering expertise, and unwavering commitment to public service. And whereas Mr. Bro has served as the City of Brisbane's Public Works Director, City Engineer, overseeing critical infrastructure, including the city's water systems and those of the Guadalupe Valley Municipal Improvement District, while also serving as the city's Director of the Office of Emergency Services. And whereas Brisbane, operating its own water utility and serving nearly 3,600 residential customers, has benefited immensely from Mr. Bro's stewardship, ensuring reliable, high-quality service to the community. And whereas Mr. Bro has represented the City of Brisbane on the Board of Directors of the Bay Area Water Supply and Conservation Agency, BASCWA, and the San Francisco Bay Area Regional Water System Financing Authority, RFA, continuously since 2003, serving as BASCWA's Board Chair in 2015 and 16, Vice Chair in 2013, and as a member of the Board Policy Committee since 2011. Whereas his leadership extended to regional committees, including the San Mateo County City County Engineers Association, where he served as president in 2007, the Ventura County APWA chapter, where he served as president in 2000, and the City County Association of Governments of San Mateo County, where he contributed to the Congestion Management Program Technical Advisory Committee and chaired the Stormwater Committee. And whereas Mr. Rowe's dedication to the California League of Cities has been marked by his service on various policy committees since 2007, his tenure as president of the League's Public Works Officers Department, 2011-2012, and his service on the League's Board of Directors from 2014 to 2017. And whereas his professional achievements include being a registered civil engineer in the state of California, a LEED accredited professional, and a Public Works Leadership Fellow. And this is the highest mentioned honor awarded by the American Public Works Association. And whereas Mr. Rowe's educational accomplishments include earning a Master's of Science in Civil Engineering from La Jolla Marymount University and a Bachelor of Science from the United States Air Force Academy, and whereas Mr. Rowe served in the United States Marine Corps for 24 years on active and reserve duty, retiring in 2005 with the rank of Lieutenant Colonel, exemplifying leadership, honor, and service to country. And whereas the City of Brisbane wishes to recognize and express its deep gratitude to Mr. Rowe for his outstanding service, leadership, and contributions to the city, the region, and engineering profession. Whereas Mr. Rowe's milestone projects include the City Hall remodel, the new Brisbane Library, significant FEMA grants to respond to storm damage with short-term cleanups and long-term repairs, organizing the Public Works Department into divisions, both on the engineering and the operations and maintenance side, developing new standards to widen sections of substandard width roadways, with infill residential development, bringing sustainability into the department, and adopting public works standards for development. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Brisbane hereby commends and honors Randy Bro for his decades of dedicated service. And we definitely congratulate you on a well-earned retirement and wish you fantastic health and happiness in the years to come, Randy.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure.
You know, we can have you speak, Randy, or if council would like to.
It's always your pleasure.
Okay.
I have to tell you a story. I go to Peninsula Clean Energy meetings, and everybody kind of sits in the same spots. And I sit next to a council member from Hillsborough who every single meeting practically sits down and says, "Oh my God, that Randy Bro in your city, Bosca meetings, that man knows so much. Unbelievable what he knows and he contributes." And this has gone on and on. And she just extols the virtues. And then I get an email from CCAG talking about your many decades of contributions. And I don't know that our general population here knows his reputation beyond Brisbane. But I think what really sums it up, you are treasured by so many people and you have lent so much of your expertise. And I think what exemplifies you most is Semper Fi. So Semper Fi.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much.
That's nice. Anybody else want to say something?
I
Madison?
mean, sure. Yeah, I'd love to definitely echo Colleen. I think that along with Clay, you've been like the envy of all other councils in the county. And it's really nice to go to other meetings and to hear how other cities would love to steal you from us. So thank you for being loyal all this time and for all of what you've contributed. It astounds me constantly, the things that you know, and what you can anticipate and think of, just I would never consider. So thank you for your many years of service. I remember very distinctly when you came to town, because with Randy came his son Philip, and Philip was my classmate. And for those that don't know, Randy and Clay used to live next door to each other. And I was very close with Clay's daughter, Katie. And Katie and I were really entertained by prank calling Randy's house. So
On the regular.
that was one of our pastimes that I don't know if anyone really knows, that I used to prank call Randy's house
Well,
as
I
a
think
kid.
you were calling my son. I think you and Katie
Yeah,
were
we were
torturing
calling his
Philip.
son.
He was very
But then we
confused
would
at
just
10.
hang up, you know.
Landline.
And I remember I didn't know a whole lot about your role, but I did remember that you were in the military because we went to war with Iraq, I think, when you had just come, or maybe we had already been in war with Iraq, and we were always, my classmates and I were always thinking that you were going to get called away, and we were always really worried about that. And so while you and I didn't have a relationship, I was always thinking about you and your family at that time. And back at that time, probably I would say 6th grade, maybe somewhere 6th to 8th grade, middle school, we had a project, and our project was you had to write a formal letter to somebody, and to practice how you address the letter and letter writing skills. And most people like wrote to the president, but I wrote to Randy. And I, at that time, really wanted us to bring back the fire hydrant painting program. And it had been defunct for a few years. And so for my project, I was like, I'm going to write to Randy. I'm going to ask him to bring this project back, because I thought, oh, it's fire hydrants, so it's public works. And Randy wrote me back, and he was like, that's not a me thing. That's a park and rec thing. So eventually I applied to be on the Park and Rec Commission, and first things first, we brought back that fire hydrant painting program. So it was really interesting at that age to interact with a city employee and, you know, some of the those were like some of the roots that were the seeds that were planted back then about public service and how City Hall works and what everyone does for their position. So I just thought I'd throw in a few little blasts from the past, if you will. But we are absolutely going to miss you. Thank you for everything that you've contributed to the city, and it's a much deserved retirement. So I hope you. I mean, I assume that
Oh,
you
yes,
fish,
this is-
so I hope you get a lot of fishing in.
Yes, there will be a lot of fishing. Thank you.
Thanks.
Terry?
Congratulations, Randy. It's a wonderful thing when you get to retire and have a little bit more time to yourself, although it always seems to get smaller and smaller. I don't have any personal stories of long ago family growing up with you or about you, but I will say that you've been instrumental in helping me understand some of the things that go on in the city, both before I was on the council and after. We don't always see eye to eye. We never did. We butted heads a few times. But I think that because of that, I was able to grow in my roles here, and it really is a testament to your abilities to help and to mentor that you helped me grow that way. And I hope I helped you see some different things too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So congratulations and good luck with the retirement, and thank you for all you've done for the city.
Frank?
Well, heartfelt thank you for a quarter of a century of service to the city of Brisbane. I've only had the pleasure of working with you over the last year, but I want to thank you for your professionalism, your deep understanding and knowledge, and overall commitment to the people of Brisbane. And again, thank you. And with that, I'll say the famous quote, "A bad day fishing is better than a good day working."
Amen.
And may all the
Amen.
fish find you.
Amen.
Thank you, Randy.
True. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I'd like to make a few comments on behalf of staff, if
Absolutely.
that's okay. I too haven't had the pleasure of working with Randy as long as others, but there's two things that's always going to jump into mind for Randy in my head. One is, as Colleen said, you just know your stuff. I always knew that I could call you up and get the details on what I needed to know in order to be the best employee I could be. And secondly, you knew how to read a room and crack a joke at the right time and break the tension. I think Randy is well known for his colorful humor, we'll put it that way. And it's always been really well appreciated. Anything we do in the future is built on the foundation you created here. And I hope as long as you're a resident of Brisbane and you drive around town and you see the great works that you did and the stories you remember from that great work, I hope you're proud. Thank you so much for what you've contributed.
Yeah, and just there's a couple extra words here, Randy. As Councilmember Mackin had said, your reputation throughout the county is stellar, and you had opportunities to leave, and you didn't. You stayed here, and you moved here, you put down roots, and that's an amazing commitment to this community. And as Jeremy has said, there are so many things in our town, that you've had help in establishing, and they will last for a long time. And a lot of people will, they might not know that, but they will appreciate it because it's made their lives better. And as Councilmember O'Connell said, I grew too by knowing you as a council member, and I learned so much, and I really enjoyed the conversations that we would have, and just getting kind of nerdy about public works stuff, and it was a treat. It was a real honor, and you always were able to come down to anyone's level and speak to them, eye to eye, and because you have so much knowledge in your head, it's incredible. But you never, made anyone, at least as far as I saw, feel that they were below you. You always made them feel like they were on equal terms. So thank you, and just have an amazing retirement, and get out there and kick ass.
So if I may, thank you very much for all of your kind words. I'm sorry that the proclamation had to be so long. I guess being here 25 years does just add up to many things. And, you know, as I look back on it, having been here for a full generation, as Councilmember Kern pointed out, it's been a good run. I very much enjoyed it. It is time for me to move on. You've got great new people coming on board, and that's a good thing, too, to continue the good works we've done. I'm not going to miss coming into work. As you can tell, I am prepared to go fishing. But I am going to miss the relationships with all of you, with all of my fellow staff members, with many of the citizens and the contractors that I've worked with over the years. And so, of course, I wish you the best of luck. I wish you good health. And I think most importantly, particularly in this day and age we have right now where things are not right and there are many of us that are upset about different things, I wish you happiness. Because things aren't always great, but you get to decide if you're going to be happy every day. And I hope that you are mindful of that and you give yourself some self-help and you take a moment to be happy in your lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy.
Thank you.
All right.
Mr. Mayor, we have
Oh,
to
wait,
present.
Yeah, I think we have a couple of items for you, Randy.
Randy, I know you're so humble, you didn't want a reception, so tonight we give you an adobo dinner with lumpia. Happy Filipino American History Month. And then we have also some flowers for your
All
wonderful
right, so
patient
Randy,
wife.
why don't you come on up here with your flowers and we'll take a group photo with the council. Come on up.
She probably used the flowers and she has to deal with me full time now.
And if you want to bring your prop, you can. All right, why don't you grab those flowers there, Randy? Because we know you're kind of sensitive too, right? I think right here is good. Sure. Whatever turns. He's coming up. Yeah. He put in the time. He can come on up.
Yeah, well, I was going to put the flowers in front.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, sounds good.
And we'll make it beautiful. Well,
Hold that proclamation.
I'll hold the proclamation and we'll do it like this. You pass the proclamation.
There you go. Make it official.
Excellent. John Fishman.
Thank you.
It's important stuff.
All right. All right, well, there goes Randy's crew out the door. All right, so moving on to oral communications number 1. This is an opportunity for anyone in the audience to make a comment about something that's not on tonight's agenda. I don't see anyone in the audience here. Anyone online? Ingrid? Nope. Okay, so we'll move on to the consent calendar. And, I'd like to just quickly pull item H just so that Park and Rec Director Noreen can give us just a little highlight of what Park and Rec did during the summer. So I'll entertain a motion for items E through G.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, great. So Noreen, you there online?
I'm here.
All righty. How you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
All right, doing good. Well, just seeing what you guys have done in the summer, yeah, you must be doing fantastic. So
It was a busy summer for us, for sure.
yeah.
So at the request of the city manager, staff compiled some highlights from our summer to showcase all the happenings. We had a very successful summer in terms of our childcare and summer camp programs, high satisfaction rates from parents and families who participated. We facilitated swim lessons to over 683 participants. We also had our Leaders in Training program. That's kind of our junior counselor in training program. We had 44 participants ages 12 to 14. And as is standard, our summer concert series was highly successful and well attended by residents. We facilitated several weeks of concerts in the park, and the kickoff with Pride and Joy was probably the largest attendance in the park over the summer.
Yeah, it was amazing.
So it's always nice to see everybody out there and families having a great time together and building the spirit of neighbors and friendship. Really kind of highlights the spirit of the Brisbane community. We also raised almost $10,000, almost $9,500 for the summer concert series in terms of sponsorships and donations. So that offsets the cost of hiring the bands. We appreciate all of the residents and businesses who sponsored the summer concert series. So thank you to everybody who did so. And also got to celebrate July as National Parks and Recreation Month with a community Lego build and a s'mores event in the park, which were both well attended. So overall, and I will also mention, we served 1,080 meals to seniors this summer. So providing essential services in addition to all the fun stuff. So really appreciate the council support and have to give credit to my staff who are the hardworking individuals who make all of these programs and services happen. So thank you, council, for your support, and we hope to see everybody out at Day in the Park on Saturday.
Yeah, thank you so much, Noreen. And you and your staff, they do an amazing job. I mean, what you just went through is what is the joy in Brisbane, or some of the joy in Brisbane, and we should celebrate that and cherish it and honor it. So thank you so much. Any council members have any questions for Noreen or comments? Councilmember Mackin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Noreen, I just wanted to point out something. I don't know if most people think about it. I think you're really innovative. The introduction you made to more and more programs that deal with life skills for kids. So they're not just going to summer camp or doing recreation, but actually being prepared for adulthood in learning life skills. I think that's really to be commended and probably very unique. So thank you for introducing that.
Yeah, absolutely. All righty.
Mr. Mayor?
Oh, yes.
I wanted to throw in my 2 cents and just really my appreciation for Noreen and her staff and the amazing work that they do. And, I hope that the council enjoyed this informational item, and in the future, we hope to bring other ones to you. And, this is sort of a baseline opportunity. You get to see some statistics, and over the years, you'll get to see how we're doing. So I hope that that's part of the experience that you have as we bring forward these types of memoranda.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. All right, so.
I just had one thing I wanted to say to Noreen.
Absolutely.
Jeremy jumped in so quickly there.
Yeah, okay.
Noreen, I just want to thank you. We've worked together now for the past 5 years, and it never ceases to amaze me what you're able to accomplish with the staff that you have. So thank you, and thank you to the entire staff.
Thank you.
All righty. So this is item H, so I'll take a motion to approve.
I make a motion.
Okay.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All righty.
Thanks, Noreen.
So now we're going to move on to item K, which is review and approve IDEA Committee work plan for 2025 and 2026. So, Caroline, please.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council members. I have the pleasure, as your assistant to the City Manager, along with your City Clerk, Ingrid Padilla, to be able to staff the wonderful Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Accountability Committee. We haven't had a chance to come before you and share with you a work plan. Traditionally, this is done maybe before the fiscal year gets started, but we had the first time putting it together. We took some time to do that. We started with a vision, mission, and principles that Committee Member Highsmith will go through with you. And we wanted to have that be our guiding vision along with your adopted goals for the priorities for this year to guide the work plan that we'll go through with you with Chair Horton. But I just wanted to mention that what you don't see on this work plan is something that took place that we're really proud of, which was the Latine and Hispanic Heritage Month celebration with Rafael and Melissa's Taqueria. That was his vision. We collaborated together with him, and he wants to do it again next year. And we're going to work into a ticketing system so we can have more advanced planning for him.
Yes.
It's a good idea. But without further ado, I'd like to invite Committee Member Highsmith up to the podium, and she can talk with you about our poster that Angel can help with the slides too. Thank you.
Hello, Council. Hello, Mayor. We are excited to unveil our IDEA poster. The Brisbane IDEA Committee vision is that in Brisbane, every individual belongs, and diverse voices shape a thriving, connected, and inclusive community, with our mission to be for this committee that we strive to develop and support community where everyone feels welcome, valued, empowered, and is able to participate fully in community life. And then our 4 principles, and we wanted to have a colorful poster because we believe Brisbane is vibrant, colorful, the blue sky, the fog, the sun, one of the sunniest places in the Bay Area. And so our principles include inclusion, everyone belongs, dignity, everyone in Brisbane has worth, empathy, understanding starts with listening, and then finally, awareness, our actions matter. And so we're excited to present our work plan.
Fantastic.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Thank you for having us. I am Chair Horton, and I'm excited to walk through our actual work plan with you. This is what we're hoping to do over the next year. So we can go to the next slide. I don't know who's controlling it, but okay. So task 1 is to improve equity and access through articles in the Star, so those who may need assistance know of the resources available to them. So this is really just about using the tools that already exist within the city to make people aware of the resources that are available to them. And so just really connecting dots for people so that they're aware of what exists and the things that we're already doing. Next task is to use digital, print, and in-person channels to inform the community about the IDEA Committee. I think one of the challenges that we face so far is frankly just a lack of people knowing that we exist. And so our ability to support and increase and live up to our principles is limited by a lack of community engagement a lot of the time. And so we're really making a commitment to finding ways to share with the work that we're doing, who we are, how we hope to help, but as a way to really gain community feedback and understand where people see the usefulness and where we can really step up. Task 3 is to plan and execute a community short film festival event. So this will actually be building on our 2023 short film event. We do it during the United Against Hate Week. We had about 30 community members participate in 2023, so we're excited to grow that again this year. And just want to thank Councilmember Davis for her connection to Lyrical Opposition. I think she was sharing that we are hoping that we'll actually be able to have a local film to share this year as well, so that should be really exciting. And again, this is really just taking something that we've done in the past, continuing to build on it, finding different ways to bring the community members together. Task 4, develop a diversity grant program for community members and organizations to apply for potential funding. So this task is really building and creating some systems around processes that already exist. So we do have a very small budget, but we are able to support community events. And for the past few years, we've supported the Diwali event at the library. So this year, we're really making an effort to sort of put some guidelines in place and share awareness so that folks that might want to host other events know that there is an opportunity for us to support those events and that there's like a fair and straightforward way that they can apply for that funding. And task 5 is lead planning for an MLK Junior Day of Service event and or discussion at the library in partnership with staff around his principals. Again, this is something that we piloted in 2025 and was pretty successful. We're hoping that we can build off of that and really embrace the principles and sort of spirit of MLK Junior Day and bring a lot more community members around this time around. And then finally, Task 6 is to plan or help coordinate an event or workshop for Mental Health Month. So this will be a new pilot program that we're doing this year to gauge interest in this sort of event. We're hosting it again during Mental Health Month. Obviously, there's a lot going on in the world, and if there's a way that we can sort of provide a community space to come together, one of our committee members does this sort of work, and so we're really excited to have the opportunity to leverage that to share with the community. So the work plan this year is really a reflection, as I mentioned, of the things that we've sort of done that we want to continue building out in a lot of ways now that we sort of have the vision, the mission, and the principles to guide us and to sort of stick around. We are hoping to put some more structures in place and make more things transparent, helpful for the community to be involved, and really identify ways that we can continue to build it out over the coming years. And I will pass it along to my committee member.
Council members, thank you for having us. So I'm bringing up the rear here with recruiting for volunteers. So as a volunteer myself, I just want to drive home the point that we are recruiting. The deadline to apply is 5 p.m. Wednesday, November 5th. And so, you know, as a volunteer, I stand here in front of you to say that, you know, a lot of times you're on committees or boards and you're volunteering and you feel like you don't really have a say, or you're just kind of going through the motions, and that absolutely is not the case here on the IDEA Committee. I was really proud seeing Noreen from Park and Recs and the whole Young Adult series because as luck would have it, the stars aligned, and I was able to sit down with Noreen and Nicole because I kind of had this vision going in my mind about a young adult series, and, you know, reached out to them and they said, we're working on that. And we welcome your ideas. We welcome you to come in and sit down with us, which I did. And we kind of hashed through what does that look like? What would some of these cohort classes look like, and who would teach them? And just to see that come to fruition, and I'm certainly not taking any credit, but to know that your ideas can align with things that we're doing as a volunteer is just beautiful to me. And they have really pushed through because they launched it before, maybe 3 or 4 months ago, didn't really get any takers. And Nicole was like, oh, this will be fine because it's just the timing. We think people are like, you know, getting ready for summer. And if we launch it again, most likely we'll get the numbers that we need. And sure enough, I mean, I was emailing her last week and she said, you know, we're halfway there, over halfway there. So, you know, my son, I've signed him up for it. And we just talked about, we thought that was an age group between like 18 and 24 that kind of, after you get out of high school, you kind of are missing, you know, you just kind of lost. So I really appreciate just kind of seeing that to fruition. And just, again, the power of, you know, volunteering and kind of having that insight and to be able to give some input and working across different volunteer committees and, you know, different groups is wonderful. So I encourage people to please sign up, volunteer, and be a part of this movement.
Yeah, that was beautiful. Thank you so much for saying that.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. Well, do council members have questions for the committee? Okay.
Thank you. On item 4 on the work plan, it comments on apply for potential funding. Is that funding from the city?
Through the chair, I think the recommendation from the committee is that the city would provide some modest funding to support that. I don't know that there's been a figure that's been decided. 2,000? Okay, you want to speak to that?
Yes, it may not have been called out directly, but it's in the city manager's budget. A lot of what the IDEA committee does is, at first it was kind of tied a lot with our Betsy revenue that we had. And we had a lot of net revenue from that. That was what did the allowed for events in the past to take place. And so we have 2,000 in the city manager's budget. I think it's under professional services, or actually maybe even office expense.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, thanks. Any other questions about the vision and the mission and the principles or their work plan? Councilmember O'Connell? You have any
No,
questions?
no, that was my only question. Thank you.
I'll get to you next.
Oh, I don't have any
You want
questions.
or comment? Okay.
Well, Cliff and I met with the idea committee chair and vice chair and had a big conversation. They were looking for feedback, and we had a really great meeting and talked a lot about the different elements of the work plan. And I don't have any questions because we asked them all then, but really want to thank you. And that was one of my questions that you just asked, but I just want to thank, all of you for your dedication and your hard work on this. And as a fledgling committee, you've really been able to get a great foundation going that will, I think, inform all of the work that you will do. And so really, really thankful that you guys have developed this foundation from which to work from. I think that's always the hardest part, is when you start a new committee and getting your bearings takes a couple of years. And I feel like at this point now you're just going to be off to the races. So thank you for all of your dedication and time.
Yeah. Councilmember Kern?
Thank you so much. You guys are the newest committee, is my understanding, and I think you're off to a really strong start. Love the new poster, love the poppies, love the fog is great. Look, it's wonderful. Regarding item number 2, yes, I do think you guys need to do some work around brand awareness and really, really get your brand out there, including your great new poster. Caroline is an expert at doing that, and so I would lean into her for sure.
You'll see it at Day in the Park.
Just, I'll give you guys a shameless plug. I got 2 tickets to the film festival today. For anyone who doesn't know or might be listening online, it is October 25th from 1:30 to 3 p.m. in this room. So you've got 2 more weeks to get your tickets. Get them now. They had 30 people last time. Let's try and get it up to 60 this year.
Okay.
I think it's fantastic that you guys have also self-selected to be liaisons to the other committees and commissions. That's pretty fantastic. So keep that going. And then if you guys at any point decide you want to do a flag raising in the city of Brisbane, we can probably get a consul general from any number of countries or embassies here pretty easily to help support that. So whatever you need, let us know. Thank you so much for this work.
Councilmember Mackin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Idea Committee, you are definitely paving the way in uncharted waters, so I applaud you and salute you for that. I read with interest what Councilmember Kern referred to as your liaisons to committees, and a couple things came to mind because I don't know how you happen to select those particular committees, but I also thought I could see facilities, communication, planning issues, age-friendly, emergency preparedness, housing history, and school, where you would all have relevance. So what we have in our staff report is that you would be following these committees and commissions as an on-needed basis. And I was just curious what you meant by that and how you would see yourself interfacing with committees, because I think that there's input. It would be an astronomical task to just follow every single committee meeting. But I think there are times, certain things that committees are dealing with where your input would really be both welcome and instrumental.
Yeah, and that's why at the subcommittee meeting with Mayor Lentz and Councilmember Davis, it was brought up to have the vice chairs and the chairs of each of the commissions and committees get together maybe just once a year.
Good.
And have them be in the room and hear what they're doing. And we're going to have a great opportunity to do that on Saturday, October 18th at the Commission Committee Member Appreciation Event. And so that'll start just like what Anna talked about with hearing what's happening in a different department and where that vision can go when someone has it. So
great idea.
Sky's
I
the limit.
applaud you with that.
Yeah. Did you, do you want to say anything else, Terry, or? I thought you were, okay, I thought you wanted to make a comment. Carol?
Hi, I'm Carol Zoltowski. I'm the vice chair of the committee, and this is my first foray in, I'll call it local government, even though I've lived in this community for almost 25 years. And so it's a very different thing. It's different than sort of the corporate sector and other things that I've done in my life, but it's been very eye-opening, and I want to call out all the members of this committee. We may be the newest committee, and a lot of us all started at about the same time, which was around September of 24. And while that doesn't sound like it's a challenging thing, our focus is about the things that you can't necessarily touch and feel. You can see the results of it, like inclusion, like diversity. And on top of that, the statement of the world, and not just in our country, but everywhere, kind of settled on us as well. So I want to really call out and thank the people that have volunteered their time to work with us. It was not easy. You can look at this poster and say, oh yeah, well, that's kind of cool. I don't do artwork, you know, whatever. The flowers are too big. But the thought that underpinned that philosophy and the willingness to go there, which is not something you can touch and feel. It's not to say that we won't do events, but the motivation and the willingness to think about what it is that underlies, I think, is the team should be congratulated. And I would like to go on record as thanking them for that. And I personally am very interested in the short film thing, as well as taking a look at what we can do for Martin Luther King Day, deeper than just deeper than the idea of, we can all talk about the isms that there exist in the world, and I could rattle off several of them. But I think if we look deeper into what that gentleman and his movement were talking about, we could look at something that we could live with. And the company that town could stand for. So that's all I want to say. Thank you. It's a privilege.
Carol. Yeah. Thank you so much to all of you for volunteering. You know, but you're more than just volunteering. You're taking on leadership, and what you're doing requires a lot of courage. We know that what your committee stands for, there are folks in high places that question that, you know, put it down, try and direct us not to be inclusive, not to embrace diversity. And you're taking a stand. And the poster, that's out there for the whole world to see, not just for our community, but for the whole world. And we need folks like you to continue to stand up and bring others in, right? Because that's what a community is about. And so your work plan it's solid. Yeah, I know that, you know, this has been something you've been working on for a long time, and there's been a lot of back and forth, and that's democracy, you know, where you're listening to one another and making compromises and finding creative ways to move something forward, because in the end, that's what it is. It's about moving stuff forward. So you should be very proud of this, and thank you. Thank you for giving us this gem. So, council discussion. Anybody like to start?
Mr. Mayor, any public comment?
Oh, okay. I guess we could bring us. Okay, this is true. Anybody in the audience like to make comment? Anyone online? Okay, no one. Okay, great. So,
in the interest of the other important agenda items, I'd make a motion to approve the work plan.
Second.
all right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Congratulations and excellent work. Yeah. All righty, moving on to old business. How y'all doing?
Oh, wait. I think are we doing item J? Oh, yeah. Silver spot. Sorry, I crossed it off.
That's
I
okay.
crossed the wrong item off because
So,
item K.
Silver Spot lease follow-up. Staff report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. As you recall, earlier this summer, Silver Spot joined us in a meeting to discuss an updated lease agreement. The conversation that the council had, we translated that into a draft agreement and provided that back to Silver Spot. The Silver Spot representatives had their own internal discussions and wish to come back tonight to discuss two items that they'd like to see amended. And be happy to invite them up to make their presentation.
Okay. Come on up.
Hello, Mayor, and hello, council members. My name is Jessica. I'm the president at Silver Spot. New president, I may say. When we came here last time, Tom was our president. So there's not really much discussion that we wanted to bring up. So the two items that we wanted to kind of bring to your attention that we wanted a change on was moving the lease. Previously, our lease was every 5 years. And now it's every 2 years is what you guys were suggesting. So we wanted to try to meet in the middle and have it every 3 years. And then the next item was the rent increase was from $310 to $1,000, which was a big jump. It's about a 200% increase. And we wanted, based on inflation, a reasonable adjustment would be closer to $500. So I think that $1,000 was just a rough number that was thrown out there, and we kind of wanted to something a little more reasonable. And so, yeah, that's about it. We didn't want to bug you guys too much. Everything else on the lease looked good.
Okay.
And we just wanted to see if those things can get adjusted. And then also, I needs to sign the lease, and then our secretary. So just getting our names added on there as signatures.
All right. No, that makes sense. And congratulations on being the new board president.
Thank you.
All right. So do any council members have questions for Silver Spot or for staff?
I do.
Okay.
I remember we discussed this last time, but I just want to confirm, how much intuition assistance are you offering currently?
We are offering a little over 1,000.
So monthly. A little over 1,000. Okay. Thanks. Sorry, those are all my questions.
Okay. Councilmember Connell?
My question's more for staff.
Okay.
And then did we get resolved the utilities and maintenance worked out as far as what we agreed to cover within this lease?
Yes, through the chair, that has been accomplished, and they're currently paying those.
Okay. And when they talked about rate of inflation, it'd be more than, when was the last time the rent was adjusted?
It's never been adjusted.
Yeah, it's been, I think, a decade.
I think this was the original.
Yeah, I
310
think
was the original.
Yeah.
And so it's been in place for 20 years.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry. even
So
longer.
rents have doubled in 20 years.
More than double.
We should be rent controlled at this point.
We don't have rent control here.
And it's not a rent that we actually pay. It's just written in our lease that we have to at least give that much in tuition assistance. And we have been exceeding that amount. But I think the board was concerned to have a big number as 1,000. What if there's a year that we're going to be at our minimum of 14 students and we're not going to be able to make that 1,000? Then we're going to be in violation of our lease, and we don't ever want to be in that position.
That makes sense. Yeah.
We're always going to be above that 500 if we can make it.
Okay, so the rent that's in the lease you use to support your programs?
Tuition assistance.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Mackin, any questions?
I have none at this time. Thank you.
Councilmember Kern?
Yeah, just remind me, because I've just forgotten. How many children do you guys currently have enrolled?
We have 21 and a wait list.
Okay.
Yeah.
And-
Excellent
We
job.
are full.
Yeah.
Okay, and then what percentage of those children are Brisbane residents?
I sent a thing. Do you have that by any chance that I sent you? Let me see if I have.
We sent it in the report.
Report to We have 11 students who are Brisbane residents. 2 are employed in Brisbane, and they count as Brisbane residents. And then we have 8 students who are non-Brisbane residents. Oh, and the 21 student, they just started today or yesterday, and they are Brisbane. So I guess that moves up our Brisbane to 12.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Well, I don't have any questions. Just thank you for doing amazing work out there, and I'm glad that your numbers are up. That was a concern of the council in the past. So you've done really excellent work to address those issues that you were facing a couple of years ago. So, all righty. So I don't think there's any other questions, so you can sit down. If there's any members of the public that want to make a comment, I don't see anybody out in the audience. Anyone online? No. So council discussion. Is there any council member that wants to start? I'll start with you, Councilmember Davis.
While I appreciate, the feedback that you've provided, I really feel that 1,000 is fair, considering that Silver Spot was founded such a long time ago and that value has remained in place. I think you won't find 1,000 anywhere. And I think that it's, been a blessing that it's been 300 for such a long time, but at some point we need to be inching towards something that I think is a little bit more in alignment with the times. What gives me, confidence in that number is that that's what you've been able to support your students with in tuition assistance. And from my perspective of Silver Spot using a city facility is, to me, $1,000 in tuition assistance is really what I would expect. And I think that because you're using a city facility, this is what ensures that that amount is what goes back into the community. So for me, I want to see 1,000 stay in place. And I do feel like 2 years is fair as well. I think that gives us the opportunity for us to have these kinds of discussions. Like if for whatever reason your tuition does or your enrollment does drop, like these are conversations that we can have on a more regular basis. I think if in 2 years from now we're having this conversation again, I think that's the appropriate time to propose maybe an adjustment, but we haven't even signed on the dotted line on the adjustments that the council said they wanted to see. And already there's a request to amend. So for me, I would be more comfortable moving forward as we have agreed to prior. And at the 2-year mark, that's where I think that the conversations to those amounts and those adjustments make sense, not now.
Okay.
But I love Silver Spot. I support everything that you're doing. And this is coming from the lens of just, a council member and having that fiduciary duty to, our residents and our facilities and coming from that perspective.
All right. Councilmember Kern. Councilmember Kern.
Thank you for visiting again. I appreciate it. Thank you for answering my questions. Good job getting the enrollment up to 21 students and having a waiting list. That is definitely in the right direction and different from our last discussion. So job well done on that front. With the lease term, moving it from 2 years to 3 years, I as well am comfortable with the 2 years, and I would like to see it on a 2-year term on the go forward. Reducing the rent from $1,000 to something closer to $500 is indicated in the staff report. I think we need to stay a little closer to the $1,000. I could see us maybe negotiating something a little bit less, but I think that in terms of just keeping current with times, this is still a tremendous value that is being provided by the city of Brisbane. So that's where I'm at.
So Frank, what amount do you think might be something that you would agree to?
We're literally there is no numbers that we're using to back up any of these numbers, and so it really is just a dartboard. So I would say 850. I'm throwing a dart.
Okay, okay. Councilmember Mackin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to preface my comments by just complimenting you as well. You've gotten enrollment up. Mayor Lentz and I met with you last year extensively. We talked about you had some rough patches in COVID with enrollment. You've got new competition and how you were trying to pull it back together. A lot of parents working, they couldn't participate. So I remember both Mayor Lentz and I really questioned you thoroughly about what do you do for fundraising, trying to give you ideas, because Silver Spot is an institution. And I mean, I think we've seen over the last times this has come up, how much support there is, even from parents who used to be involved years and years ago. So we want you to succeed. I think the important part here is, as Councilmember Davis pointed out, when there's a tuition waiver of $1,000, and I can read right out of this draft lease, that you can use the tuition assistance as a waiver of the rent, I don't see why $1,000 is a problem. And if you're keeping this enrollment up, that is really cheap rent. And I think it shows a good faith on both parts. We want you to succeed, but the parents involved need to pay their fair share as well and keep it going. We can't do that for you. And so we're giving you the best we can to keep it going. There's a lot of amenities that come with that building, and we're trying to show as many ideas to make it doable and workable. I think the 2-year lease is appropriate in this case, in that we went far too long. We didn't know you were having problems. We need to stay in touch with you. We need to know what's going on. That's part of our fiduciary responsibility. And that gives us a better pulse on what we need to do in terms of your lease or what's working or not working. So I'm still in favor of the original terms. I think it's still reasonable, and I would hope you would see it that way, but we also have certain responsibilities, and I think it's to make it work for both sides. And I think you can make it work, I really do. I've seen the strides you've already made, so I think you can make it go. Thank you.
Councilmember O'Connell.
I don't really have any discussion to make right here. I'm more in line with keeping the terms as we had originally agreed.
Okay, all right. Yeah.
Can I make a quick statement?
Sure. Come on up, Jessica.
So I just want to thank everybody for their feedback. I do want to remind you guys that we are a nonprofit, so we're not making any money off of this. We're not like profiting. Literally everything that the school makes, we put into the children, and we put into paying our teachers for their time, right? We also just wanted kind of like numbers to present to our board, because a lot of those people were not here in that discussion. You know, we have a new board pretty much every year. And so they wanted to know where these numbers came from. So once again, just throwing that $1,000 out there, I understand why you guys are saying that, but at the same time, it's just a number that's thrown out there. So they kind of want to know why this number was thrown out there, where you guys got it from, and just for our books, for our records as well.
Yeah. Well, you know, I feel like I'm to blame for that, or I'm the instigator. I don't know if blame is the right word. You know, when we had the meeting a few months ago, and we were talking about the rent, I threw it out there, and you know, it seemed like an appropriate amount because you guys were already handling that amount with your contribution for folks who needed assistance. but then you came back to us with a reason why that was putting some pressure on you. And for me, I think it's a legitimate reason to ask for some kind of reduction. I know the Councilmember Kern threw out a number, 850. I know that the amount isn't really about like rent that the city's going to get, right? It's it's just putting some, whether the amount is $300 or $500 or this $1,000. In the end, you are committed to helping families who cannot afford tuition to get them into school, and you'll cover those costs. And those costs are really, put on by the families, right? And you're fundraising, you're shouldering that burden to help families who are can't afford to be there. But this assistance helps them to be there, and I just think it's a really admirable thing to do. So in the end, it is going to come down to the council, but it seems like from our discussion, it seems like that's where we're going. But thank you, Jessica, if you wouldn't mind.
Thank you. No, thank you.
For your comment.
I would expect that, if the rent, I don't know that you guys have ever paid rent. So let's just, rent's not a great word, but for the purpose of the lease, that's what we call it, right? And when that was implemented, tuition was so much less. And tuition has gone up and gone up and gone up and gone up, right? But the rent has not. And so I imagine that your tuition will continue to go up annually in order to stay, in alignment with other similar facilities. I don't foresee this council, certainly not me, all of a sudden every time it's time for the lease to, be bumping up our number at the rate that your tuition will be going up. So I think it's maybe a hard pill to swallow, but I think that's our fault because we never really have had this conversation. I think the 1,000 came because that's what you were already giving in assistance to students. But I mean, I expect as a nonprofit that is a level $12,000 a year to me is a fair level of assistance, and it's the reason why you get to operate in that building, because you are a nonprofit, and that's what we love about you and how you help community members. But $1,000 a month, when you really think about it, for some of these parents, like if there's 21 students, not all of them are on tuition assistance, but how much of an impact truly, when you get down to the cost, $1,000 isn't that much, especially if it's separate, especially if it's divided amongst multiple families. It's a little bit of a reduction, but it's not huge. And so I would be concerned if, our families weren't able to tap into that. And if you were in a position where you could no longer, provide that type of tuition assistance, that's a trigger for us that it forces that conversation that we would then need to have. So not to say at that point that we wouldn't make maybe an amendment for some extenuating circumstances that we were going through, like COVID, right? If that would have happened during COVID, we had a conversation, we could all sympathize with that. But that's that trigger safe that requires us, if that happens, for us to have the conversation. And I think that's really, fail safe. Fail safe is what I meant. I think it's important to have the fail safe there.
Yeah, when you brought up COVID, they did soldier through the pandemic and they were able to survive, which was pretty impressive considering all of the issues that were before schools. But, in the interest of time, right? I mean, it's either 2 years or 3 years, and it seems like the council it wants to do 2. I would like to see 3, just because I think having a third year helps to, just to be able to forecast and your finances a little bit better. But I'm good with if it's 2 years and that's the pleasure of the council, then we would go with that.
So if I may,
Okay.
part of it is that the city's providing the building and the facilities for this community service for the nonprofit. And we want to see, I would like to see a return on that investment of us investing in Silver Spot. And that's why leaving the rent where we had proposed it would be important to me, because I think that that's something that we can say that our allowing this use of the building is coming back into the community. And so that's why it's important to me. And having a 2-year renewal, if there's an issue on one side or the other, gives us the opportunity to go ahead and revisit it sooner rather than later when it may become more of a problem, and to get ahead of it. I think, as Councilmember Mackin said, that staying abreast of any potential issues that are coming up. And I would imagine that if it came up as a regular renewal on a regular basis, this is going to be one of those consent items where we say, yeah, it's working, and we rubber stamp it and move on. It's not that the board is going to need to jump through hoops to prove their different things. It's going to be a pretty rote and easy process to go forward. It's just been so long that a lot of the language was outdated. A lot of the, expectations on both sides were very outdated. So,
All right. So I think we're ready to make a decision. So if someone wants to make a motion,
I'll make a motion to approve the lease on the contracts under the original contract that we had prior.
okay.
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Now, of course, this still means that the Silver Spot would have to sign it if they're agreeable.
I'm sure they will be. Thank you for coming, and thank you for pleading your case. That's democracy, and we're all in this community together, and I think all of us really appreciate what Silver Spot has done for the community, and we want to support you. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
We just need to change the signature.
Yes, and you'll work that out with City Manager Dennis. Okay, moving on to, let's see. Okay, item L, discuss real estate sign.
What about J?
Oh, J.
Excuse me?
Oh, okay, thank you. You're right.
Sneaky one.
Yeah, you're right. Okay. Item J, consider adoption of an ordinance amending Brisbane Municipal Code Chapters 1510, 1702, 1712, 1716, 1732, 1734, and 1743 to amend regulations pertaining to accessory dwelling units and junior accessory dwelling units. Sorry, John.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Mayor, members of the council. This matter was heard in September of this year. Again, it's to bring the city's ordinance into conformance with state law related to ADU regulations. When we introduced it in September, there were some questions about building height in proximity to high quality transit. And there were a number of stops that were shown as being high quality transit, which changed the height limits. There was some discussion about whether that information was accurate, so the matter was continued, although you did introduce it, and directed staff to look at that issue in particular. We did look at that and have reviewed some additional information both on the state level and through the local transit providers, and determined that none of the transit stops meet the definition of high quality. So we have modified the definitions or the height limits to comply completely with state law in terms of the 16-foot, the 18-foot. So without that amendment made to the ordinance, we're requesting the council adopt it as amended. Not answer any questions you
All
have.
right. So any council questions? Let's start on this side. Councilmember Mackin?
No.
Councilmember Kern?
No questions at this time.
All right. Councilmember O'Connell?
So that means the entirety of Brisbane is back down to the 16 feet,
except where the state does require 18 feet,
which is in what areas?
which is multifamily, multi-story,
Okay. But not on the ADUs.
single-family ADUs are 1 story and 16 feet.
Great, thank you. I'm glad we got that clarified.
Absolutely. All right, so, let's see.
I would make a motion that we adopt the ordinance amending the Brisbane Municipal Code.
Let's just see if anyone online is.
Public comment.
Just in case. So, anyone online would like to make a comment?
Oh,
We
got
do
one.
have
Michelle
one.
Salmon.
Okay, Michelle, you have the floor.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Planning Department, for doing the homework and setting the record straight. I really appreciate it very much.
All right, thank you, Michelle.
Before you make a motion, I just would like to thank Terry for her, her what's the word?
Tenacity?
Tenacity was the word that I was going to use, but I was like, is that yes? And really looking at that, noticing that, calling that into question, and you put the brakes on it to let staff go and research. And there was a blind spot that we had there. So I really want to thank you for bringing that up, because we would have not caught that without you.
Well, I think it really comes, I thank you for that comment, but it really comes to seeing what we have for public transit here and knowing that there is no way that could be considered high quality. We are fighting for every drop of blood we can get for a stop and for transit. And, you know, it's something we need to keep fighting for, and I think it's really important to call it out when it's not right. So, thank
Good
you.
job, Terry.
All right, so we have a motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, great. Now we'll move on to item L. Discuss real estate signs. Staff report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Per the request of Councilmember Davis at the last meeting, we've placed this item on tonight's agenda. The request was to take a look at whether or not our current ordinance that regulates, in this case, real estate signs should be amended due to observations related to the placement of signs around town over weekends during open houses. Staff has provided the excerpt of the ordinance, chapter 1736. We also wanted to provide just some examples, and it wasn't meant to be exhaustive in any way, but just some examples of how other cities have handled this issue, and that's attached as item 2. Should the council wish to move forward on some sort of amendment process, we would initiate that amendment process at the Planning Commission. Wouldn't necessarily be a significant, a long process to bring that forward, but that would be the mechanism we would use. Thank you.
All right, questions for staff? Councilmember Mackin?
So if staff could answer this, since the language in the ordinance already says for portable signs, the sign will be safely secured during and after business hours. Isn't this now really just a difficulty that we need code enforcement to enforce the already existing ordinance? I couldn't figure out why we would need to amend it when it says that already.
Through the chair, I think that that's a reasonable conclusion based on what the ordinance says. Although it may be open to interpretation. So as there's some examples in other places that have a little tighter suggested, a little tighter ordinance, that may be something that could be useful for the council as we go out and have conversations with real estate agents. The current, I believe that we could, under the current ordinance, apply it in the way that I think is desired by the council. There is a question about how we would do that because we don't have a code enforcement officer in town on the weekends. This would become a function of the police department. So that's just something to take into account. I would not recommend that as the approach. Certainly, I think what my predecessor would do in the past was to lightly remind those real estate agents that they should do that. But we don't have a perfect mechanism related to resource at this time to
So I have a thought about that, in that we have My Brisbane, and if someone saw someone, and I would interpret portable signs, or we could say temporary signs. It's kind of, I think portable does the job. Someone could take a photograph, could date stamp the photograph, turn it into My Brisbane, and say, observed someone in violation of the sign ordinance.
Yeah.
On Monday, goes to police code enforcement. Will Minoz visits the offending party, either gives them a warning or a citation, and that takes care of it.
I have a question.
That makes sense to me. So,
Well, if I could, thinking through those comments, one thing I want to consider is whether or not our My Brisbane app could be gamed a little bit. One of the things we always try to do is capture the code enforcement issue as we see it, is in front of us.
Yeah.
And I could see a scenario where someone takes a picture and posts it at a certain time, and it may not actually reflect the reality of what's going on the ground. But I can talk to staff further through that.
I have a question. So number 18, off-site open house sign means a temporary off-site sign that serves solely to provide directions to a property being offered for sale, which is open for inspection by the general public on the day the sign is displayed. And from our conversations, it seemed like that language was making it difficult to say if somebody had their sign up at 10 p.m., their open house was that day, and then they have a open house the very next day. So at 12:01 a.m., now it's the next day. So technically, the sign is up the day that the open house is happening. And so it's my understanding from our conversation that you were feeling like a tightening up of the language would make it much easier to enforce any kind of consequence.
Thank you through the chair. I think the examples that we provided show that tightening. You speak to sunrise to sunset or particular hours. So that would just give us a little more clarity on being able to enforce.
okay. Any other questions, Councilmember Davis?
No.
Okay, Councilmember O'Connell?
Actually, yes.
Okay, yes.
So Millbrae has, I thought, a very interesting way that they address it. It says non-conforming signs, this is on page 159 of our packet, non-conforming signs may be administratively removed and retained by the Millbrae Police Department for a period of up to 14 days. A fee, the amount of which is set forth in a resolution approved by the City Council, should be assessed to release the sign. If the sign is not retrieved by its owner within 14 days of its removal, the police department may dispose of the sign. Do you feel like, because this is happening on weekends, this was brought up, that if police officers making their rounds and it's in the evening hours, it's the second shift of police officers, they see the sign, they pick it up, throw it in the back, and that's something that, so that the city doesn't have to proactively send out fines, but the realtor will be motivated to track down their sign, will come and retrieve it, and then get a lesson in real time. So do you feel like that's something that they would have the bandwidth to do, since there's no code enforcement on the weekend? They observe it, they pick it up, or somebody calls in and says, hey, there's one over here, and it's clearly 9 p.m.
My preference wouldn't be to start with the police department for a whole host of reasons. That I would like to look at some alternative mechanism to enforce. Police officers, as they start, I don't want our police officers to start to drift into a code enforcement regime inadvertently, one way or another. I can, at least early on in that process, I could see some very, very strange conversations on Sundays. Where's my sign? What's going on? Things of that ilk. That again, I'm not sure the police department would be the appropriate place to have that discussion. So, my hope is if the council does want to tighten things up or wants us to do some sort of enforcement, that I can come back with some additional thoughts on what that could look like.
May I ask an additional question? Are you done?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
I wanted to ask, how prevalent is this problem?
Staff is not tracking this issue proactively. So I've not asked staff to go out and do any kind of analysis.
I mean, is it one person that's doing this or
I've
is
noticed
it multiple?
like there is a few people that are doing this.
So couldn't we just have code enforcement talk to them and say, by the way, we have an ordinance, if we know who it is?
We have in the past.
That's happened
These are not
several
new
times.
conversations. Yeah, so. And we certainly could. So if it became acute again, we would just have a conversation again. And hopefully that conversation would help the problem for a while.
Councilmember McCall.
So if we were to try to amend our code, and I'm talking about on page 145 in 1736-020 definitions 18, and to just change the language there to off-site open house signs during daylight hours only, is that something that we need to do a complete amendment of that chapter to do, or would it be better to write a standalone ordinance in regards to that?
I think it would be a very minor amendment to the ordinance. So you wouldn't have to do any other significant work I'm looking at John too. He doesn't
I
think
think
of
that's a
anything
really
either.
great suggestion.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, just the language of during daylight hours only clarifies it that, you can't leave them up continuously from one day to the next.
yes.
And I think it gives us a really good opportunity to reintroduce to the real estate community that this is an issue that is of concern and that we don't get into a back and forth about interpretation of the code.
So if somebody is perpetually in violation of this, like what happens?
I'll look to John.
Well, there can be a series of citations, and it ratchets up on the number of citations. So the first one is $100, the second one's $250, subsequent are $500 per violation. So that's through our kind of standard enforcement provisions.
So I would hope that you would come back, I guess, with your thoughts, because these things happen on the weekends. Code enforcement's not here on the weekends. So I'm just curious, like, how you hold somebody accountable who's doing this chronically if we're not going to involve the police department, but then code enforcement's not around at 9 p.m. on a Saturday.
Yeah, that's what I want to think through a little bit
Okay.
further. Yeah.
If I may, this is a question for staff. So I'm pretty familiar with my Brisbane. Public Works would tell you I'm very familiar with it on Brisbane. You have to be in a logged-in state to use my Brisbane, so we know who's submitting anything that's coming through. That's
true.
So if I have Realtor Jane, who's constantly reporting Realtor Dick, then we know that it's a competition thing. We know that it's not above board and it's probably not a real complaint. So I feel like my Brisbane is the correct path because I am 100% not in favor of using our police department, which is already overtaxed, to be patrolling real estate signs. So can you provide me with some feedback on my Brisbane? Is this a solid approach?
I think my Brisbane would be the fine vehicle for utilization here. I think that makes a lot of sense. I wasn't sure if your comments were referring to a previous comment I may have made, but if that's what you're asking, then perfect.
I don't know that I like that logic, though. I see what you're saying, but like from the feedback that I've heard, right, there's some realtors in town. They go out, they put their signs out an hour before, they take their signs out when the thing is done, and they respect that they're not leaving their signs out as what's then becoming an advertisement, so to speak. And so I've heard this as a complaint from other real estate agents who are like, hey, this is like rolling into now advertising that's been here 72 hours. And so it's frustrating because I'm trying to do something where I'm, being thoughtful of my community and the sidewalk, and I'm taking it out and putting it back. So I can see that it is making other real estate agents frustrated. And so I could see that some of the complaints would come from them, and that is not necessarily coming from a place of like, wanting to harass another agent, but just like wanting everyone to be playing on the same playing field. So I don't know that like.
How about this? I think, do we have any more questions for staff? Okay, and so let's, oh, you do? Okay.
I do.
Okay.
I think that it's a question for code enforcement, whether the complaint comes through an app, if that can be the basis of, and this probably you'll need to get back on from the legal terms of it, if a complaint citation can actually be based on a report from a private citizen, because we can see someone speeding and we really can't do anything unless the police officer sees them speeding. And so I don't know if that's the same kind of process. And I think we'd need to get that information before that method of enforcement would really work. You know, we certainly don't want a bunch of vigilante people throwing other realtor signs into their trunk because it's, 5 minutes past dark. I wouldn't want to see that kind of behavior either. But I think that there's going to be some give and take on how this can be enforced when we don't have code enforcement here normally when those signs are out. Certainly if it's out still on Monday morning, we can see that it's been there for,
But then it's daylight
2 or 3
hours.
days. But then it's daylight hours, and is that an open house thing?
Right.
But it does, you pull into town, and I have noticed that it's like, gee, so-and-so must have lots of houses for sale because there's always signs at the corner 24 hours a day for this one real estate agent or multiple ones.
Right.
So I can see where that would feel like they're advertising, oh, this must be the best real estate person because those signs are always in the middle of Bayshore Boulevard.
Sure. I saw Tom jump up
Yeah, I
there
saw-
when legal
yeah, Tom, you
came
wanna
up.
Hey,
provide
hi,
some
Tom.
comment?
You're muted. There we go.
I was just going to weigh in on Councilmember O'Connell's comments. The city should not be prepared to rely on my Brisbane as an enforcement mechanism. It will lead to these type of things have come up before in different scenarios, and that kind of will rely on the public to essentially shame somebody. It didn't work in the Scarlet Letter days, and it still doesn't work now. It's a legal matter. So you got a tough call as a legal matter, whether you want to wait and have code enforcement handle something Monday or not, but you certainly don't want to rely on citizens deciding how they're going to portray it on My Brisbane. It will invite other problems.
Tom, if I may?
Yes.
Tom, we're talking about the My Brisbane app that you have to download. It's available through the App Store. There is no shaming going on there. That's not like a Facebook page. That's not something along those lines. That is simply a report into the city in a logged-in state, including your name and contact information as a reporter. I'm just throwing that out there.
But if you want a consequence, which is what I'm hearing, what's the consequence? If you're simply saying that's for the conversation, which is what was said earlier, I didn't say anything, that's fine. But if the notion is we'll rely on that, which is what Councilmember O'Connell was questioning, could we rely on that for enforcement? No. You could rely on that to go have the conversation, but you'd have to be pretty darn sure that whatever video you had and whatever that somebody put up was somehow legitimate, because in today's day and age, as you know, it can all be documented. So the call that you talked about earlier, perfectly fine. Relying on it for a citizen as a citizen complaint that we can rely on to enforce, not okay. That's the line I was trying to draw.
It was, I think that's riffing off Tom, but it was a comment I made earlier where there could be concerns that somebody takes a picture of a sign at 2:00 on a Saturday and it's totally legit, and then they post it at a later point. So that's hard. So, per Tom's suggestion, I could certainly use it as a tool, and then we would have to find other ways to ensure that something's happening.
It's again, I'm not saying this in a vacuum. It's just the enforcement part that you got to worry about.
Yeah.
But the notion of making somebody aware, knocking on their door, putting it on an app where it's not for enforcement, that's fine. It's just don't rely on it for enforcement without adopting a new ordinance.
Yeah, and that makes sense.
So perhaps there is a way that if it's citizen reported through the My app, that when time permits, police could drive by and verify and maybe not confiscate the sign, but that would be something where then, because it's a valid law enforcement officer observing, they would be able just to note it in their logbook, and that could go to code enforcement on the following Monday.
Let me talk with the chief about that. I think there might be some opportunity there. I do want to avoid as much as possible the police getting involved in code enforcement issues for some of the reasons I described earlier. But let me speak with her to see if that's an opportunity.
Because it would really be code enforcement. The sign wouldn't be removed necessarily.
No.
On a Saturday or a Sunday.
No.
But it would be documented, and that could turn into an enforceable action.
My other question is, like, let's say somebody puts their sign up, right? And it's in violation or whatever. How are we tracking them down to give them what?
Is that for staff?
Yeah.
Okay.
How are we tracking them down? Plenty of real estate agents don't live in Brisbane, so they have. How are we getting a citation?
Don't the signs have a phone number on them?
A lot of them have
Yeah,
phone
but
numbers.
they don't have an ad, like,
Yeah.
how are you when you pull somebody over, you give them a citation, you write it right there, boom, there you go. So I think that why probably Millbrae does it is it forces the real estate agent to come to them, and that's when, they issue that. I think maybe this is a good opportunity to check in with some other cities that have these in place. I think it's obviously a problem if other cities have very clear boundaries around this, and maybe we know how Millbrae handles it, but seems like the rest of the cities, maybe the enforcement is in a separate part of a ordinance that we didn't get. So I'd be curious to know, but I think I see already a hole there of how do you know someone's mailing address. They're not going to, you call them up, they're not going to offer it to you.
Well, if it's
Just
still
send
there
'em.
Monday, the police, somebody picks it up. But, I don't know all the ins and outs, but I think that there's some tweaks. We can certainly do some outreach.
All right, so if there aren't any other questions for staff or for Tom, we'll open it up to the public for comment. Anyone online like to make a comment? Nope. Okay, so now council discussion. So.
I think we sort of already had it.
Yeah. I may be able to summarize. I mean, I think with these items that we introduce, per council request, I think it's really a taste test. Is this something you guys want us to continue to look at? So I think the direction is clear that we want us to continue to look at it. There's some details that we would need to figure out to make it work, but it's important to the council to find a pathway where we can better regulate signs on these types of signs on the streets in the weekend.
Well, it sounds like what we have in our ordinance needs to be a little tighter, like you said, and I think we've talked about it being tighter, and sunrise to sunset seems to be appropriate. Right. Is there some language though from Millbrae that you think should be added, Madison?
Yeah, I mean, I want to know what happens if somebody is in violation of this. What's the approach? Is there a citation? If so, how much is it? I mean, that's worked out $100, $200, but it's like, I think we have to figure out the teeth aspect of this.
Sure.
If we want to continue on a council level or bounce it back to staff to try to come back, I mean, I do think that the during daylight hours only, sunrise, sunset gives you a 20-minute fluctuation either direction.
You got twilight, yeah.
But,
if I may. So I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. We're trying to
looking at sunrise and sunsets for Brisbane, California. Now let's pretend I was a real estate agent. Never going to do that job, but let's pretend. It sets at 4:52 p.m. in the first 2 weeks of December. 4:52 p.m. Are kids even home from school yet? If I've got an open houses don't happen between 9 and 5 Monday through Friday. They happen in the evening. So again, I'm just saying, as we're exploring this concept, when we're looking what the other cities are doing, you're going to pull a realtor sign at 4:52 in the afternoon for an open house?
I think you could say 9 to 6 or something. I mean, we can come back if you want to tighten it more later, but
Yeah, it means, we can just give direction to staff and say 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock in the morning to 6 or 7 at night. And
That seems to make more sense.
I think 6 or 7. I think 6 or 7 is fine. That makes sense. I'm talking about like 11 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night. It's like getting ridiculous.
Well, what you're addressing, Madison, is the realtor who leaves it overnight.
And there's multiple. There's one that happens to do this often, but there are other agents who come from out of town. They don't really know what our rules are. They might have a listing for a couple months. They do it as well. And I just think, we solidify this so that it doesn't continue being a problem.
So doing the My Brisbane, it gets reported. Someone from staff doesn't have to be the police, can just send a notice, say, hey, you're in violation.
That would be through code enforcement. Just one other suggestion I may square this circle. We could craft language that says something akin to an hour before or to an hour after the close of your open house or something like that, and that may tighten it up. And because that may also, you also have open houses, in the evenings, right? I mean, it's not just a weekend thing. That's becoming more and more common in a lot of communities. So it maybe has a relationship to.
But then you would have to verify, like if this came in,
It's
right?
just tough. Yeah.
You would have to then verify that someone, when they had their open house in the past.
Right.
And Zillow, you could see the open houses that are coming in the future, but if you wanted to actually give a citation, how would, you would have to find a way to figure out.
Prove or disprove.
That they had a thing at that time. And same with the person who was reporting. They would have to look up whenever that open house was. I think there's definitely stuff to chew on here still that we can, bring back maybe, but.
I think we can bring it back, but do real estate agents need to get a business license to do business in Brisbane?
Yes.
Okay, so any real estate agent that has an open house would have a business license here.
Yes.
Oh, I doubt it.
I'm not
They
sure-
should.
They should. I'm not
don't
sure
think
that they do. Right.
Councilmember
Those are
Madden.
two different things.
Is anyone going to have an open house after 10 p.m.? 10 p.m. All signs must be removed.
That's so
Who's
late.
going to say they had an open house after 10 p.m.? Come on. 10 p.m. No sunset, just 10 p.m. All the signs must be removed.
I think 9 o'clock. To me, like 10. Who's really out at that? Like, I think, I don't know.
What do
Let
you
me
mean
make-
who's out? Then the signs, if they haven't been picked up. they
I'll
left
make
them.
a suggestion. I think that I think there's a lot of issues around enforcement that really need to be sort of hammered out. This will ultimately be some sort of resource allocation, and whether it's one side of the shop or the other. So let me have some further conversations with that. I needed this direction, that there was interest in it, for me to put some staff time and resource into the discussion. So that's appreciated.
So I have a question for you, Jeremy, before we just move on. So during our campaigns, if a sign is in a spot that's not, appropriate, it just gets picked up. No one notifies us. We don't get a citation or anything like that. It just gets picked up.
Yeah.
So could we do just something like that? If the sign is left out over a certain time period, it just gets picked up.
Public Works.
Yeah, Public Works, not the police.
Yeah, so and I think that's
Hall.
the most reasonable on a Monday morning or something like that. So I don't know that it addresses Councilmember Davis's concerns about what it would look like on the weekend, but certainly, I mean, that would be an obvious violation of the current code, and we could then move forward with something like that. But again, it doesn't address the weekend issue.
And
It's get- yeah. Is it Councilmember Kern?
No, I was just going to say, we recently had an open house on, I think it was Monterey Street, that was at 9 a.m. on a weekday morning. Like, I'd never heard of such a thing. And so they are doing different hours. And anybody having an open house at 10 p.m., I'm definitely going, so.
Thank you for that. Okay, so does staff have enough direction? Okay, I see
Thank
the
you.
thumbs up. We're all good. Okay, thank you. All right, moving on to item M, discuss agenda setting process. Staff report, please.
Thank you. Similar to the previous item, this was a request from a council member, in this case, Mayor Lentz, who wanted to have a discussion with the council related to the agenda setting process. and placing items on the agenda. We currently don't have a formal process by which that we utilize. Last year, I attempted to introduce a concept around a colleagues memo that could be one potential solution that hasn't been fully utilized at this point. So we just wanted to open up for the discussion and support you in any way, answer your questions tonight. Thank you.
All right, yeah. So yeah, just really for council discussion, having some more formal way of allowing all council members to get items onto an agenda and doing it in a way that all council members know that the item's going to be coming from that council member, so we're aware. So just having some guidelines, since we don't have guidelines right now. So so I'm open to any questions. I mean, I listed a couple of suggestions. I can mention them and use that as a base to start the conversation. So I'll leave that up to you guys. I have a couple of suggestions that maybe we might be able to.
I have some thoughts on it too, but I just didn't know if you'd written it. I was going. I didn't.
Oh no,
see
I
it.
just wrote in my my chicken scratch here.
Okay.
That only I can read.
Well, that's a good thing sometimes.
So how about this, Councilmember O'Connell? Since you have some thoughts, why don't you start us?
Sure. It's been my opinion of what I've seen in the past when I was mayor and when I wasn't mayor is that normally staff would bring an agenda to a pre-meeting with the mayor at that time. And most of the things on it, some of them were time sensitive. Some things were things we'd been working on for a long time. Some things were new items and proclamations and of the such. And at that point, it would be, when I was the mayor, I would look at it and say, oh, gee, that looks like it's a really big agenda and we shouldn't be doing this and this on the same night. We'll never get through it. Or maybe this involves students, and so we're going to want to move that further up in the agenda. Or there would be 5 proclamations, and I would perhaps redline a couple that were like, no. Or you'd say, I'd like to see a proclamation for something else. And it was never truly an issue. We had quite a bit of discussion among ourselves and talking about things that we'd want to bring forward. And when staff could get them in, it would happen. And that worked really well, I think, in most of the time, and probably with most of the people who are working with staff to set the agenda. I understand that sometimes it seems that you can't get something on the agenda, or that other people are flooding the agenda. And that's why we want to sort of have this discussion so that it's not one way or another, it stays balanced. And so, I mean, besides the things that staff needs to put on and are time sensitive, I think that it would be a good practice to have the opportunity for council members to bring something. We just heard an item that was of concern to Councilmember Davis, and it came back the next meeting. Certainly not fully fleshed out, and not knowing how much the rest of the council really wanted to flesh it out. But we had a brief but fruitful discussion on it. And I don't know if we took a vote at that point, whether anyone else backed up Councilmember Davis's idea of looking at the sign ordinance or not. But I think that process worked well, certainly quicker than what many times would happen because of necessity. So and I don't think staff spent a lot of time on it, but I do think that items that are going to be controversial or are going to take a lot of staff time, we should get a consensus from unless it's in our already pre-approved work plan, on our goals that we have goal setting, that we should get a buy-in from the rest of the council if we want to delve into a subject for the first time or for the 15th time. And that would just make it fair to everyone. And I think that just having one other council member who says, yeah, I think we should look into that, should be fine.
Well, and to one point that I think I made in the previous item, and I'll make it again now, you know, if there are items that a council member or two council members, however the council wishes to move forward, the staff will, like you said, with the staff reports, they're not intended to be exhaustive. They're intended to give just enough to give us some direction to continue to move forward with the conversation, because I would be reluctant to put an enormous amount of staff time into something that we just don't know if it's even something that council wishes to discuss. So I think there's a modest amount of time that can go into the preparation of those kinds of staff reports, enough to get a conversation going and enough for us to understand, yeah, there is something to work on here. And through that action, like we did in the previous item, I know that staff time is been directed by council to spend on this. So just wanted to make that point.
So if I may, one other really quick comment. When we were years ago, we had an issue with subcommittees spending legal time on things that just the subcommittee was involved in. And it came to a shock when we got a $30,000 or $50,000 bill from legal to look at certain things that subcommittee was looking into. And at that point, I believe we put in an ordinance, and I'm not sure how we did it. My brain doesn't quite go back that far. And I want to say it was a $1,000 legal amount of legal time. So let's say it was at that time 5 hours, probably 3 now, or 2, or 1. You know, so we put in a dollar limit of what an individual subcommittee could request in legal time. We didn't ever drill that down to staff time, because the subcommittee would go to staff and staff would know if it was possible or not. But perhaps that's something, that kind of framework would work in this situation too.
Thank you for this comments through the chair. There's a lot of components that could go into the kind of analysis that would be appropriate, similarly to the legal one. In most cases, city manager typically has some subjective authority to say, you know, hey, we've got a lot of things going on right now. Let me, if we could put this in another place, if we can do this a little differently, would it be okay if we do this another time? This will take a little bit more time than I expected, et cetera. So I think preserving that is always, like, I think that's useful. Just riffing, some of the things you could look at is, you know, our hourly rate essentially for that amount of time. But that adds up really fast when you start including multiple staff members. So you might get to a place where suddenly you've only done a couple hours of work, and that's it you can really do based on a policy. So it could work. I would also suggest some caution in that as well.
I think like what's in the staff report to me makes a lot of sense, that you have a council comments requests section, and that's kind of what Councilmember Curran and I tried to essentially create in a meeting. And I think it's appropriate for the person making the request to inform the city manager beforehand, so at least they're expecting that this request may come up, and then they might be able to privately say whether they think, you know, that staff is equipped to handle that at this moment, or they have time to kind of think about it, and then it comes forward, and then the rest of the council can weigh in. And if, I don't know if we want to do it 2 or we want to do it 3. I think that's the point where you talk about it versus like 2 council members getting together privately to decide. And then I think when it's just all out in the open and people can weigh in whether they think that that's something that is worth us looking into, and you can comment on how much staff time that may take if that's a concern for somebody. I think alternatively, I think every other city in the county does mayor pro tem to give input on council meeting agendas. And some even do a third. I think that really is a best practice and something that we should implement here. And certainly if you're not the mayor pro tem, but there's an item that's of concern to you, you have a mechanism built into council agendas where you could bring that forward as well. And it gives everyone ample opportunity to help shape what future agendas might look like.
Through the chair in Portola Valley had a process where the mayor, the vice mayor, and the city manager all had to agree on placement of an item. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that approach. I think the city manager can take a more subjective role in that process. But certainly to your observation that is how most cities operate.
If I may, Mr. Mayor. So I did a little talking to people from other cities, council members. And the vast majority I spoke to, they either had mayor pro tem, or some of them had 3 council members had to approve an agenda. Some of them had 2 council members, could be mayor and a council member. The one comment that came back to me, because I didn't just say, how do you do it? I said, do you know why? And the comment that I got back was because we've had council members or a mayor who had an agenda and just kept putting things on the agenda that they wanted. And so by having to have more than one person approve the agenda, it prevented that. And I think we've been operating in a gray area. If you ask me, I don't know if I have to get, hey, Frank, you want to put this on, you want to work with me on recommending to the council that we consider something. I don't know whether that's what I have to do, or if I have to go to the mayor. Or when I was mayor, all I had was veto power on the agenda. I never, ever put anything on the agenda.
Yeah.
Because I was told, you don't do that.
Yep. Same.
So I think those are all different scenarios we're talking about, and we need to nail that down.
Also, what if you go to Frank and you say, hey, do you want to work with me? And he says, no. Now you're going to go to a third person? Could put you in an awkward, it puts you in an ethically awkward position.
Yeah.
To do that.
It's almost easier to just bring it up at a meeting and see if someone else says, yes, I agree. Then you have to decide, do you have 3 people willing, or does it have to be unanimous?
Or 2.
Or 2, whatever,
yeah.
or 2.
And back to the previous points made, we could just have a standing agenda item that call for future agenda items, which we have on most of our committees and commissions currently.
Frank, you have anything?
Yeah, I think that there should be like a little mini litmus test that the mayor and the city manager use to help prioritize things. So we could obviously bring a lot of things forward in a council meeting, and people could agree that it's things we need to discuss, but they're a varied priority. And we should have a way to say, we're going to bump item X for item Y because it's a higher priority for the next meeting. We gives you guys a tool to like shuffle things around a little bit as need be based upon priority. And I don't know what that litmus test is or what it looks like, but it maybe 3 questions that you ask of an item and figure out, what the impact is.
Well, yeah, it is interesting, that when you made the suggestion to put the camera item on the agenda, it wound up being on the agenda for the next meeting. And same thing with you, Madison. So it was just, it was a timing thing.
Yeah.
There was enough room in the agenda, right? It's 8:39 and we're almost done.
If we were in an EIR, there's no way we would be doing
exactly. And so, I think we're all in agreement here, and the things that I wrote down were the things that you're bringing up. And so having some kind of process, I think, is helpful for the body to be able to work together and with staff. And so I think you had mentioned it, Madison, about having a council member, or it could be 2 council members, going to the city manager and saying, hey, we're thinking about this item, or that council member is thinking about this item, and just getting some guidance. And then, then that item can be then it could be put on the agenda under mayor council matters. As, say, for your situation, Madison, Councilmember Davis is considering reevaluating the real estate sign regulations, and it's an item that she would like to consider to be agendized. So that then, when we get our packet, we know that Councilmember Davis is going to want to pitch this idea to us, right? Or Councilmember Kern, has, talked with the city manager, and now we know that this item is going to be up for discussion to potentially be on the agenda. Obviously, we don't go deep into the weeds. It's just like, it gives us an opportunity for us to then, as a majority, say, yes, I think this is something that we should put on the agenda. It should be a majority decision. All right, so that then it goes on a future agenda when appropriate.
May I ask, you just said 2 people go to Jeremy. Are you saying it has to be 2? Because I
No.
think, okay.
One or
Because
two.
I think Councilmember Davis's point was good
Yeah.
about if you talk to one person, then how many people are you going to talk to?
Absolutely. No, it could be 1, or it could be 2 council members that have kind of a similar idea. Maybe they were, they went to a conference and they really liked what a speaker was talking about. Maybe it's in sustainability, or maybe it's in transportation. It's like, this could be a good thing to bring to Brisbane, but hash it out with the city manager.
And then how many people have to approve it at the council meeting?
I would think the majority should approve.
See, I almost think it should be 2. Two to say yes, we'd like it on a future agenda, because you could run into a situation where you have a 3-2 hard split, and those things happen.
And sometimes
2 to bring it back.
Yeah,
bring it back.
2 to bring
right.
it back. Yeah,
Because
yeah, yeah.
sometimes
Maybe
you
not
don't
with
know
a
what it's
big
about.
spend.
Okay.
And it's helpful to just learn more about it.
Yeah.
I do really like the suggestion to have the conversation as a line item and it be clear what is being proposed. That way you can have just time to think and be prepared, even though you might not have a big staff report. You're just anticipating that this ask is coming up, especially if it's an item that maybe we've already visited a year or 2 ago, and now okay, so-and-so wants to revisit that item that we've previously given direction on. So you're just mentally prepared for kind of how you think about it.
So what if, going back to when the mayor and or someone else sits down with the city manager, I do believe that, we need to have trust in our city manager to put the items on the agenda and as he needs, and what staff has time to do. And if we're going to have a system where any of us can bring something to be put on a future agenda, I don't think we'd need to have the second backup if we have the saying that the mayor does not get to place on the agenda.
If we just use this format.
We use this format, and then the mayor does not get to set the agenda. They may have the veto and say, oh, that's too much, or, let's move this placement, or, proclamations certainly can be fuzzy on whether there's time for them or not. And I know at one point, any proclamation that was asked for was sort of given. Not so much anymore, but anyway, I think that would be the best of both worlds, where we wouldn't have to have this multi-phased meeting to set the agenda on Tuesday morning or Monday morning when they're getting ready to do the agenda, because we'd already had that process of bringing things forward from the dais.
Yeah, I think the mayor still weighs in on the load and the placement, but maybe doesn't get to introduce their own topics that haven't been supported by at least one other council member in this forum.
Yeah. That would work, I think.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's, in many ways, I've been on the council now for 15 years, and it seems like that has been how we've done
Yeah.
business.
Yeah.
You know, we've never had a mayor who just, okay, these are my items and these are the only things that we're discussing.
I think it's
Yeah.
it's pertinent because it's come up in some of the, you know, the documents that we've been working on in our workshops, code of conduct and best practices and all these different things. How the mayor works with the agenda, I think, is something that should be clarified, because we've just been talking about what is the role of the mayor. And so I think just stating that specifically, even though that has been our practice, but just confirming how we want to move forward, so then we can put that into words is
Well,
good.
We've also had council members recently say, hey, I want this on the agenda, right? And so if we have some kind of process
Yeah.
that makes sense,
Yeah.
then now there's a vehicle to be able to do that.
I will
And
say-
you won't feel, you know, like Councilmember Mack, and you're saying that, oh, do I do this or do I do that? It's like, okay, no, here's how you do it. And everyone is agreed that this is the proper way to get it on the agenda.
I will say, when you're running for city council, right, people are like, well, if you get elected, what's the first thing you're gonna do? And you say, well, that's not really how it works. You don't just get to put something there. It's mostly what's kind of already on your agenda, what staff is proposing, so on and so forth. But when I saw Councilmember Kern have this vehicle, I was like, oh, yeah. And so it does provide a mechanism if there is something that you're really passionate about, provided you can get the rest of the support from the council that you need. It does allow you to address certain things that might be important to your constituents.
Well, yeah, right. So you could run for office, and one of your campaign pledges is, I'm going to reduce those real estate signs that are just clogging up the corners of our streets. I want that. I'm going to advocate for that. And here you go.
May I just bring up one item then? I could foresee, and hopefully not, a situation where someone wants to agendize something and they get one other council member to concur, and you go through a year and it's never appeared on an agenda.
I was thinking that too.
And so I think there needs to be some recourse or appeals that someone can say, I need to bring this back to the council because I feel like I'm just being stifled, that it's not appearing.
I think the way to address that is utilizing a standing agenda call item, as I referred to earlier, that we have in the other committees and commissions. I think that would be an appropriate place if,
Just bring it up then.
yeah, just bring it up then. I mean,
On that
I
same
would also say,
topic-
I'm sorry, Frank.
Go ahead.
I would also say too that, I mean, as you can see in these recent examples of, you know, we've been able to move things fairly quickly, in part because we had a little space, in part because we wanted to bring something very modest forward to make sure that there was some interest. You know, the one thing to say is the practice has always been that council members do come to me and check in. I think that's happened to a T. So there's no real need to change that. I think to your question, Councilmember Mackin, or your comment, I mean, my commitment is to bring things forward, you know, within 3 to 6 months, regardless of any other issue. I can't imagine having a request from a council member and then just sitting on it for a year. I don't know how to memorialize that other than we state that somewhere in a policy, but that's certainly my commitment.
I wasn't really referencing the city manager. That could be a function of if the mayor has veto power, that they just don't want it on the agenda. So I think that's something we need to address that. Just under the very unlikely, let's say very unlikely circumstance that happens. Just so someone feels like, you know, we've talked about that. We know that could happen.
Yes. All right. So does
Thumbs up
staff
as well.
Feel like you
Yes.
have direction. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. Staff reports, city manager's report, city updates, and upcoming activities. I'm sure there's a few.
Just a few. You've heard about some of them, and they're worth repeating. So first of all, I'm going to hold up the latest issue of the Star. This has on our front cover the Day in the Park and the Derby and the San Bernardino Mountain Half Marathon. Please come out and enjoy. It is an extraordinary experience. We'll have lots of booths and food, and many of our committees and commissions will be represented. The second, and going a little bit out of order chronologically, the other item I wanted to bring up at the front end was our Halloween closure. This is a significant endeavor, something that we haven't done before. It was actually on page 2 of the STAR. We will be engaged in a very, very robust communication process with those who may be affected by this. But I think it's just worth mentioning, we're going to have just a delightful evening the night of Halloween. That will be new. So thank you for the council's support on that. You heard earlier on October 11th from 10 to 2, Fire Service Day, open house at Fire Station 81. That same day, 10 to 2, is community office hours with Assemblymember Pappen and our own Mayor Lentz. They'll be here at City Hall. On October 14th, the development team who put in an application for the quarry project is hosting a webinar to discuss advanced manufacturing and share ideas and concepts from their panel of experts. So those who may be interested in what the future quarry proposal may look like should attend that meeting. Eric Beatty will be here in the Artist Evening of Sharing on October 16th, sharing his photos of natural landscapes and animals. We hope that you can participate in that. That's 3 to 4:30. And finally, on October 18th is the Volunteer Pathway event that's been mentioned a number of times. This is really exciting, and Ingrid's going to speak to what that will entail.
Yes, Mr. Mayor and Honorable Council, the Volunteer Pathways 101 is going to be our first event to kind of motivate the community members to learn more about the volunteer opportunities within our city and to provide ways that they can give back to the community. So it's going to be really exciting. We're going to have a panel of all the committee of some committee members and commissioners to inspire people. We'll also unveil a new committee video. And we just, our hope is to really provide like a cohort learning community model so they could give back and learn ways to be more engaged in our city. So we'll need help kind of getting the word out. I think the personal invite would be the best motivation for people to want to go. There'll be refreshments, there'll be raffles, there'll be other things, but I think just the community outreach, the one-on-one outreach would be the best. So forward you the email, the invitation, and you could help me get the word out. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ingrid. No, looking forward to that. All right. Item O, council meeting schedule. And I do have just a quick question. So the we changed the second December meeting from the 18th to the 11th. And so that'll allow the new mayor to be at the Council of Cities in Colma to vote, but that'll happen before.
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
That's usually how it works.
Yeah. Exactly. That, you know, so I just want to make sure that that the date that we have is before, so so Colleen can be our representative at the Council of Cities.
Okay. There's nothing to guarantee the mayor pro tem becomes mayor. I'm not assuming anything.
I hear you, but just okay.
No, they're honestly.
So our next mayor will be
Someone will make themselves available to vote.
Exactly. Okay, great.
As what I'm hearing, Mayor, if I may, is that we verified that information. Oh, okay. Thank you.
Okay. So, and then Terry, you're going to be out on the 20th, so no problem changing our meeting time to 7:30.
So I am going to confirm, because the other day when I talked about this, I was looking at the time difference, but the day there is the day after here. And I have to get my brain around that, whether that's the day we get into port, that we're in port, or it's the day that we get into port after our meeting. So I will confirm that we still need to do the 7:30 in the next day or so.
I just asked staff to just, can you really make sure you remind us well? I mean, worst case scenario, I'll just be here an hour early, but it'd be good to get some reminders.
Yes.
We'll
All right.
highlight it on the agenda as well.
Okay, and then January 1st, obviously, be out for the holiday. So, moving on to item P, countywide.
Oh, I have one question about item O.
Okay.
The council meeting schedule for 2025. As staff is learning, I'm very, very time-centric and date-oriented. July 2nd, 2026 is a Thursday night before a legal holiday. My recommendation is to move that meeting 1 week back.
We normally just cancel that meeting.
Oh, you do? That's standard practice?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, well, it's on here. I would now recommend that we cancel it because I can't imagine keeping staff here before a 3-day weekend late.
Thank you.
Yes,
Yes,
of course.
That very observant there, Frank. Get rid of that one. Okay, so item P, countywide assignments and subcommittee reports. Any countywide assignments that someone wants
I have
to
one.
talk about? Yes, very important one. Terry.
So I attended the SFO roundtable and the SFO technical working group last night. In the technical working group, we talked about advanced air mobility, which is drones, vertical takeoff, things of that nature that will be coming to us, whether we like it or not, and how we can address it. And they've decided to do a study that is going to be certainly ongoing and long-term to bring in what those possibilities are going to look like. And so that we are on top of them, talking with the FAA and with the people who are building this technology, so we have as much in front of it as we can. One of the big things that we talked about was whether, because our organization is about airport noise, if we even have legal standing to comment on this if it's not to the airport noise, if it is from hub to hub or from, say, an Amazon warehouse to my house. How would the SFO roundtable even have anything to do with those issues? And so we're getting a little bit of legal opinion on that. And then we also talked about the equity, where usually communities that are lower socioeconomic are the people who get the impacts. But this very well could be impacting the people in the upper echelon communities that are going to be using those air taxis going from their home to where they want to be. And so it may be almost sort of a reverse equity issue, where the people who are living among the biggest problem are the people with the most money who can afford the problem. So it was an interesting conversation. Then we had the regular airport roundtable, and between the two meetings, I talked with airport staff, and some of the reasons we are having so many noise issues right now is that Oakland, because the storm that came in for the last few days, the unsettled weather, has been bringing them severe winds. We have not had winds, but Oakland has. So Oakland has been in reverse flow, as has been San Jose Airport. And when Oakland goes into reverse flow, San Francisco has to also, so the planes don't collide. So we've been having a lot of really messed up flights. They can only use the 28 runway. They're coming over everybody. So it's been very difficult and very unpredictable type of weather pattern, where it's been causing issues. And, I know the mayor has gotten some complaints And I've gotten some complaints and I've made some complaints. So it is something that's weather related. It's the beginning of the storm season. And, you know, they have to look at safety first.
Through the
So-
chair, I'll work with Councilmember O'Connell to get a message out to the community. I think it's worth noticing that in the next blast.
Yeah, it was supposed to be this weather pattern causing the reverse flow was supposed to end today at about noon. So, you know, a day late, $1 short. We're aware of it now, but that's the reason we've been having so much going on right now.
I still think it's worth reporting out on, though, through the blast, for sure.
Oh, yeah. And, you know, it's always good to know that just because we're not having the weather here doesn't mean Oakland or San Jose is not triggering that problem. But there's no runway work. There's nothing else that was triggering it.
When San Jose does reverse, do we have to, or only when Oakland does?
We have to, certainly when Oakland does, when they do reverse flow. When San Jose does, it changes how they can land in San Francisco, and so that changes how they can take. It's not complete reverse flow, but it's impactful. Yes. Everybody relies on everybody else, and that's it for my report.
All right, well, thank you.
Good job, Terry.
Yeah, that's great. Colleen?
I'm glad you asked. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Okay, you know where I'm coming from. Okay, I have a Peninsula Clean Energy report you're expecting. Peninsula Clean Energy is nearing a milestone. Next year is a 10-year anniversary, hard to believe. In Brisbane, we typically had 97% of residents as PCE customers. It is now up to 99% and increasing in other communities as well. Those customers are receiving a discounted electrical rate. Are you listening? Carefully, carefully. 10% lower than PG&E now. We used to go 5% off whatever PG&E charged. We changed our rate setting policy this year, and we set our own rates based on what the energy costs us to produce. It's currently at 10% less than PG&E. This translates to an average savings of about $72 a year. Those are average savings. And for those who convert to all electric homes, those homes save on average about $32 a month or $384 a year. PCE was also distinguished. Recently was a New York City Climate Conference. PCE got an Innovation Award. It was recognizing our programs and also successful efforts in EV charging. In fact, there was a partnership with the City of Millbrae. It was a multifamily building called Bayview Terrace. PCE worked with them, brand new building, to oversee installation of 143 EV chargers in this one building, which translated to one charger for every single parking spot in the building.
Wow.
This is now the largest EV charging installation in one spot on the entire West Coast. That was a big milestone.
Cool.
And that's kind of a program PCE wants to get, where all the new buildings, they don't just have a handful of chargers, but they have lots of chargers. PCE will also be unveiling new agency goals for the coming decade that will include new programs, more utilization of batteries to establish distributed energy resources throughout the service territory. What that means is better resiliency, that's less brownouts, more stable rates because we don't have to go on the open market after dark to try to buy electricity at market rate, and we're able to utilize stored energy in specific communities. You may know Pescadero and Half Moon Bay really suffer, along with Pacifica, major outages in the storm years, or storm months rather, and so PCE is also starting to work with them, talking about setting up microgrids, and there are state grants that we're looking into to do that. PCE's also, we know, to become recognized as an industry leader. It's now attracting top talent, people who are contacting PCE from all over the country saying they want to work for us. And the workforce, just since I've been serving on that board, has more than doubled. It's just growing leaps and bounds. Also, PCE's been instrumental in working with California legislators, crafting innovative energy legislation. PCE was originally just a startup. It was just a dream of some Peninsula local government leaders back in 2016. And now it's truly really a very, very successful and mature community power provider. So,
It's a great model.
yep. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Mack. And Councilmember Kern?
Yes, thank you. We had our age-friendly subcommittee meeting yesterday, so we're not reporting on it in this meeting. However, I do have an update from a prior meeting. We received a request from the age-friendly task force to bring back a class or an event at the Brisbane Public Library. That event is tomorrow, October 3rd, from 11 until 12:30. The title of the course is Fraud Prevention 101, Protecting Yourself from Scams. The library is bringing in the famous Amy Culpepper of Pep Tech to conduct the course. The course is designed for people 55 plus years old. No registration is required. Please come.
Yeah, thank you for that plug. Massey?
I don't have.
All right. So I didn't have any countywide assignments either. So moving on to anybody want to report out on upcoming subcommittee meeting? Nope. All right.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
if I may, I would like to make a request, and I brought it up last meeting about, this is just an issue that I have. Watching year after year after year where outside forces, outside property owners, outside developers come to Brisbane and they drive what happens in Brisbane. And years ago, Little Brisbane wasn't incorporated until 61, so there was very little we could do. They were going to tear down all the buildings and houses for redevelopment. That finally resulted in the incorporation. But I mean, this has been a theme. We're at a different place in time now. We're way beyond that. We're way more sophisticated. We're a larger population. And I'm still just troubled by the fact that we still have people that come to town and say, this is what your city's going to look like. And I think it's time that we address this and that we take our own vision of what we want Brisbane to look like. I don't need to go back far to a couple years ago where High Speed Rail was telling us what our city was going to look like at the entrance to town. And as a model, I mean, I watched over the years. I remember Redwood City years ago, and it was a horrible, blighted downtown. It was awful. It was crime-ridden, empty storefronts. It was terrible. Nobody wanted to go there. Nobody wanted to go there after dark. Look at it now. We've talked about, we've had loss of revenues, could be COVID, whatever. We need more revenues, but what are we doing? And there are people in town who go, I don't want overdevelopment. I don't want too much housing. And we have a lot of things to balance, but we also know that no matter what, we're still going to have arena allocation. And we can't go 10 years from now and go, oh, we're just going to ignore you. That's not going to work either. We had Parkside 1 several years back. Community was very involved, and from what I saw, people were very satisfied with the results because they participated. The end result was attractive, was on Park Lane, beautiful street, looks like a lovely residential street. And if you had to have housing anywhere in Brisbane, it kind of belonged there. And the designs that came out of all those sessions looked like they belonged there. Something that we could go, wow, Brisbane did a great job on that. I would like to see us address Parkside 2.
Is this call for future agenda item?
Yes, there are, well, yes and no. There are 3 of you who were on the council then who worked on Parkside 1. And you remember Parkside 2 was part of that at a future date we could consider it. We have a shopping center with empty storefronts. We have services that for years, every time the Baylands comes up, people go, oh, but I'd really like to have XYZ. Or I constantly get people say to me, you know, in Brisbane, it's really a shame after work. I want to go just have a drink and a nice meal. And where do I go for that? Or people that work here and they go, you know, if I want to go somewhere for a nice little lunch, there's just not many offerings, or what's the retail component anymore? And we've talked about these things, but we didn't pursue it. I would like to see us form an ad hoc committee, not just Parkside 2, but to investigate pros and cons, put it all on the table, bring it back, of developing a specific plan for central Brisbane, entrance to town. It would essentially, could be just Parkside 2, could go a little bit further, but just to bring back a couple things that we could talk about, because we're once again sitting and waiting for someone to tell us who we are and what we're going to look like. And I think that's wrong. And I think we have strong opinions in our community, pro and con, but do we really want to let everyone else tell us who we are? And we have this lovely community, looks great. People go, wow, the charm there. And yet the other comment, people will come in and say, you have no idea. You're not utilizing what you have. It's kind of like you can see all the possibilities, but nobody's doing anything with them. And that does not mean overdevelopment. It means well-planned development. And I had a conversation with our mayor after the one pop-up event on the Bank of America building that was at the library. Was that in July? And my comment to you was, I think the whole Bank of America project right now is just careening out of control too fast. And that working on a development of one little tiny corner of that whole area is short-sighted. And why would we do that? We purchased that property. I was there. I was part of the vote. And part of it was we wanted to be part of the driving force for what happened with that whole area. Because council had just finished Parkside 1. And there's other property owners. But we also have a lot going on right now with property owners. We've got Prologis buying up property. We've got things starting to heat up with the Baylands. And are we going to just wait until they all figure out what we want and what we want to do? Or are we going to say, wait a minute, we have a vision. This is kind of what we would like. You want to work with us. That's what Redwood City did. And I'm not saying we would even proceed, but shouldn't we look at the possibility? That's all I'm asking for. And I'd like to see an ad hoc committee just explore ideas and bring it back so we can have a discussion.
All right.
Thank you.
No, thank you for that. So, I know that you had mentioned it a couple of meetings prior, and you definitely have thought this thing well through. And I agree with you that we should put it on the agenda and see if that is the direction that the council wants to move forward with. Forming the ad hoc committee to address that area. So we'll work with the city manager and make that happen. Thank you.
So you're going to agendize this conversation, or we're making the subcommittee?
No, we have to agendize it.
Okay.
Yeah, have that discussion. So, all righty. So, written communications, Ingrid?
We had communication from Karen Cunningham, swimming pool downtime on September 22nd. Sheila Bradley on September 22nd, transparency in supplemental materials added a couple of hours before the meeting. And Citizens for a Safe Brisbane from Al Cardoza and Chris Cardoza.
All right, thank you for that. Oral communications number 2. No one's sitting in our audience, but I do see Michelle Salmon online. And if Michelle or any other members of the public want to make a comment during oral communications number 2, now is your opportunity. All righty, I don't see any hands raised, so we will adjourn our meeting to, we will adjourn the meeting in memory of Joe Rydell Sr., who a longtime Brisbane resident and, major contributor to making Brisbane a wonderful place to live. He volunteered a ton, and I'm glad they were able to close in his memory. So, and now we will adjourn to our closed session.